Welcome to Menopause and Miracles, a podcast where we talk about things midlife women are thinking about maybe at 3 a.m., but rarely may say out loud or share with a friend. I'm Suzanne, your host and your midlife wingwoman, and today we're talking about something that looks ordinary on the surface, but holds entire lifetimes underneath: clutter. Not the kind you fix with matching bins or a Saturday afternoon. I'm talking about the clutter that carries memory, the clutter that belongs to past versions of ourselves, the clutter that quietly asks us to keep holding what we've already outgrown. For many women at midlife, clutter isn't just in our homes, it's in our bodies, our schedules, our relationships, our expectations. And at this stage, it becomes transparent. Suddenly, what we once tolerated feels heavy or unnegotiable. So today, we're exploring clutter as a mirror, as a message, and maybe even as a rite of passage into the women we are becoming. This is episode 35, titled When Memories Take Up Space, a Midlife Cleanse. And for many women in midlife, the battle with clutter isn't about mess. It's about meaning, identity, and emotional weight. They feel it physically in their homes and mentally in their minds, but they're also using the stage of life to redefine what matters, letting go of the old to make room for a more intentional and purposeful next chapter. My guest today is Lili, Petit, owner and creator of Clutter Healing. Lili is a clutter healer who matches expert organization with intuitive, energetic cleansing to evaluate, coordinate, and completely rejuvenate the home. Trained in a series of respected and time honored traditions, Lili works one on one with clients to identify and uncover emotional attachments to their possessions and embark on a gentle yet effective path forward, releasing and removing things not only from the home, but from the heart. She's been recognized in publications like In Style and Wall Street Journal most recently, and she understands that letting go is never just about stuff. It's about identity, grief, nervous systems, and the quiet courage it takes to choose yourself. Welcome, Lili. So glad to have you here on the podcast today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and discuss this un- uncharted territory in a lot of ways for many people.
I can attest to that for sure. And I'm sure you are a gift to all that you serve. And we'll get into that a little bit of just how I talk a lot on this podcast about asking for help and getting help and not doing things alone. And especially clutter can be so, stuff can be so overwhelming. For our listeners to get to know you a little bit better, tell us about you personally and where you are on the midlife meter currently.
Well, currently, at the time of this recording, I am 48 years old. And I am, you know, I definitely have been feeling the effects of, having the moments of being woken up in the middle of night, not understanding, why my sleep is dysregulated, or the mild panic attack slash anxiety that tends to pop up around things that, never really bothered me before. Sometimes it feels like making a meal plan or a grocery list is like all too much, right?
Wow.
And these are
Yeah.
things that in my 20s and 30s were so effortless. It was not a big deal. And I think me personally, as I have gotten older and my responsibilities have increased drastically with a young child and a business and a household to manage, and then going through these changes within my physical body that, you know, they just come when they come. They come when they come, and then it's sort of I experience these certain symptoms and then recognize, "Oh, okay, this is new. Hold on. This isn't necessarily something I wanna be experiencing every single day," right? So what are the new tools? and the new responsibilities that I'm digging into around, my health and wellness and feeling more calm and all of those things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, in a nutshell, I've gone back to an integrative doctor. I'm doing a lot of stuff around my gut health right now, specifically. But all those things that you see on all the wellness influencers, Instagram accounts, it's like I do all that stuff. I lift heavy weights. I try to get
Right.
my 10,000 steps in. I really pay attention to my mood swings, my emotions, my sleep, and it all does make a huge difference. I mean, even just drinking the water, like
Yeah.
if we just stay hydrated, I mean, that's a huge help in this stage of life I've found. So it's all those little things that I think
Yeah.
add up to creating a more healthier way of living as we
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, even the water thing, I always am amazed that I can go to a doctor that it's not the first question on every doctor's list. How much water are you drinking? Because it impacts so many things if you're dehydrated. Yeah, so I'm glad there's influencers out there reminding us, and those gigantic bottles that are, AKA weights that you can carry around. I have not,
Mhm.
I can't. I know I'll knock someone out or myself with one of those. Those things are, pretty big. Well, to get grounded with our listeners, can you share a little bit about what clutter healing is and how you came to creating this business around it, also tied with the healing and energetic aspect?
Yes. So I was a wardrobe stylist for many years, and I sort of transitioned into home organizing through starting to organize people's closets. So I would go into someone's closet. At the time, as this wardrobe stylist, someone asked me specifically, would you go and organize this celebrity's closet? Because every time I try to go and get this person dressed, I can't find anything in her house, and it's very frustrating. And it just takes so long to pull together all the outfits. Um, so I was asked to do this. It was like someone actually saw this talent in me. I didn't even realize that I was as organized as I was necessarily. Um, so I started doing this for a person, and then it sort of just blossomed from there. I realized very quickly, oh, I could do this every day, all day. Like, this is fun. This is exciting. And I didn't really love production days in terms of being on set all day, and I wanted to create my own business and have my own thing, and this was something that I kind of just naturally came to, and it wasn't also at the time, I will say, because I've been doing this for now 17 years. At the time, no one this was not a thing. It wasn't a career. It wasn't something that people were writing books about. It wasn't something that, there was an association, and it was called at the time the National Association of Professional Organizers. There was that association that had been started, and I don't know, probably like 20 years prior to me even coming into the business, but it felt a little outdated and wasn't really current with what I kept experiencing over and over again. So every time I would go into a client's home, I would energetically sense and feel the overwhelm, the too much, the heaviness that would be on the client's face where they felt like, I don't know where to begin. I mean, this is what I hear all the time. I don't know where to begin. It all feels like too much. A big one is like, well, even if I do this, I might do it wrong. So what's the point of even starting or trying? And let's say, for example, I would go through and do a big closet edit, reorg with them. And the drastic transformation I would see on the person's face from the time I arrived to the time I'm, putting the garbage bags full of all the donations in my car was palpable. I mean, they would say things to me like, "You're better than Prozac. I mean, you're better than, like, anything I've ever tried to make me feel better with my home." So I quickly started to recognize, oh, these physical items that are weighing us down are actually weighing us down energetically. Like, it is a physical manifestation in our lives and our bodies when we have too much stuff in our house. And then at that same time, I started getting really into different spiritual practices and, exploring more meditation, exploring yoga, and all of those things. And I started to quickly also recognize, where we have clutter in our homes, clutter shows up in the body. And so then I started taking it a step further and teaching people breath work and helping them sort of like declutter what I call a spiritual housekeeping practice. Like the breathing really helps us remember and release the emotions that we're carrying around. So I started quickly realizing, okay, these two things are 100% related. Like they are linked together. And so I look at home organization as just another path to healing our lives, right? It's just another way. Some people start with diet and exercise, some people start with maybe a spiritual or religious practice. I truly believe that the less stuff we have to manage in our homes, the less we have to, worry about not having time or space to deal with something that might be confronting or emotionally challenging. So, any ways that we can really reduce the clutter or the noise in our homes will directly relate to how we're able to show up for our bodies, how we're able to show up in our relationships, and it's all just this like really big beautiful web that I see when I think about how I've transitioned to like using the house clearings and the breath work and to come this new trauma movement practice that I'm starting to teach. And it's all just such a beautiful opportunity, I think, for all of us to let go of what no longer serves us in such a bigger way.
Yeah, thanks for I love the journey, the way that just something came about, was created. I doubt I don't know if you had resonated with healer when you were doing the styling that you would be here, in a
Definitely
healer.
not.
Like, let me put that on my list. I don't even know if that was a thing as popular, I can't even say that word, popular as it is today.
Yeah.
Um, well, when I look at the dictionary, it defines clutter as a confused or disordered state or collection. And now I thought I would have seen too much stuff somewhere in the the definition, but it's not. And it seems to be noting what I would call like a state of mind or affairs, noting confused or disordered. And how do you define clutter?
I mean, I sort of simplify it. To me, clutter, I mean, the number one thing that comes to my brain, like if I think about it from my brain, is that clutter is just a delayed decision, right? We've seen this quote a million times. It's constantly on other organizers' marketing materials. It's a delayed decision. So, and I take that a step further from like the healer perspective is that I think that clutter is anything standing in the way of you and the life you truly desire. Because it is. If you're looking at a pile of papers that, I don't know where to file this. Should I scan it? Should I throw it away? Should I shred it? Should I? Like this is all pulling you out of your present life experience, right? Like you're worrying about this pile and you're not truly present for what is happening now. And even if it's just like this little running tape in the back of your mind of, oh, I need to deal with that later. Oh, I really should file my taxes. Oh, it's like we're just constantly in
I
the
don't know what you're
background.
talking about at
I
all.
know you've never no one relates to this at all, right? Or like, what do I do with all these clothes? They're worn, but they're not really dirty. So like I don't want to put them away back into my closet or my shelves or my drawers, but I don't know where they go. And then I have this like mountain that's grown on this chair in my bedroom. It's all this stuff that's really taking us out of being completely present with our work, with our body, with our, you know, people, our relationships, all of these things. So, clutter is really a huge distraction that we can
That.
control. Like, that's the
Mhm.
thing is like you do have dominion and
Yeah,
autonomy over your stuff. And to say that, you blame it on your family, you blame it on your kids or your roommate or whatever, I kind of don't buy into that. And as harsh as that may sound to some of you listening, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I
It's
not
your
buying.
space, it's
Don't
your
take the
peace.
bait.
Yeah,
Um
like, don't do it.
Well, I do love I love when people are able to put words that bring meaning to someone. So hearing you say clutter is a distraction is different for me than say if I was to say it was something else. I mean, even decisions that I'm not making.
Mhm.
If I resonate more with distraction, it allows me to go, oh, well, I don't want distractions in my life. Maybe making decisions is not yet where I'm comfortable, but is a place I could be with someone like yourself and starting with baby steps. I mean, for me, growing up, I definitely knew what too much stuff was. I had a grandmother who once, she was had 5 children, and once they left the house, she seemed to fill up all the rooms with stuff, mostly clothes, but then other stuff. And then my parents, they definitely have had their share of too much stuff also. And I wanted to know, did you have any clutter in your childhood or family at large? Was it anywhere? Okay.
Yes. I mean, my parents were complete opposites, polar opposites. My mother is total neat freak, everything in its place. Every week she's cleaning the house, we're getting rid of stuff, we're, you know, going through my closet before school started every year, getting rid of the old, and she's still at 78 years old, she's still completely fastidious. I mean, every bed is made, she grew up in a household that was very much that way. My father, on the other hand, complete opposite. His mother was actually a hoarder. After my dad's father passed away, she became a hoarder to the point where she would come and visit us over the summers and stay for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't even ride in her car because it was completely filled with things. And there was only one little teeny tiny spot where her little dog could sit, on top of a pile of things in the front seat. And I mean, I have so much empathy for her because I know that that hoarding came from a very traumatic experience for her, which was losing her husband, and which he was the love of her life. And so she started, using the Walmart specials and the tag sales and the wherever else she could get a good deal, the coupon, the buy one, get one free, whatever it was that seems like a good deal. She started to insulate herself and have, the love she wasn't getting externally from a partner. She started to insulate herself with the things around her physically. And there was a lot of overeating and overindulging. So it's like we often find that when there's a lot of clutter, there's usually two things going on. We're either missing something emotionally, and we're trying to fill that space with the things around us, right? Or we have a lot of fear around finances. So we don't think that we'll be able to afford it again, or if we get rid of it, it's a waste of money. So there's usually two different things going on. But as we all know, as human beings, our biggest stuff or our biggest things to work through in life usually are around love and money, right? I mean, these are the two things, the two areas that I think most of us are usually striving to either like do better in or think about differently or use more responsibly, right?
Yep.
But my dad's desk in his office was, I mean, it was like a mountain, and I used to go
Mhm.
in when I worked for him in high school and college, and I would clear it all off, and I would organize it and everything, and he was never messy in our home, but at his office, he could, pull
Yeah.
ranks on his desk for sure.
Yep. That's interesting how you talked about, your grandmother, right, with the passing of her husband, and or parents that get divorced. I find that when people are together and then for different reasons they're on their own, I've watched this in my parents, briefly, that the clutter, the insulating, I love that word, can take off, can change that differently than when two people are together. I think my dad would use his garage would be his space only where he could keep whatever he wanted, right? Nobody went in there to touch. That was his space. And then once my parents divorced and he got a place on his own, now it's kind of the whole house. It's
Mhm.
completely different. And watching that. What are the signs or similarities that you might see arising around clearing clutter with any of your midlife clients, specifically women? I don't know if midlife, if it's, like, oh, there's different signs that you see or different ways they're responding or reaching out to you.
I mean, I think so much of what happens as we start to get older and we're in this midlife swing is that, you know, things are different. Like I mentioned in the beginning, things that cause me anxiety now or stress were not things that I ever even considered when I was younger. Something happened not that long ago with a client of mine. We're about the same age. And I had brought a new team member to her home that she had never met before. And this is someone that I have been working with consistently over the last 10 years, right? So I know her, she knows me. We're very comfortable with one another. And I brought someone new into her house and she had a panic. She was like, "What? Wait." And she was completely thrown off. And I felt horrible because I was, I trust this person. This person's worked for me for 2 years. She's just never had the opportunity to go to this particular client's house. So it was a real wake up call to me to always remember, safety and feeling safe in your nervous system is like the number one most important thing to me. So it would have made this client feel more comfortable had I prepped her ahead of time and said, "Oh, hey, I have this new team, like new to you, but not new to me. Like, I have this person on my team that's going to come help out today. So and so wasn't available, to come to your house." But I think the more that you can sort of prepare the nervous system for what's to come in the clearing of any kind of clutter or even starting any big project. I think it's very important that we create safe containers around, okay, this is what it's going to look like, this is what's going to happen, and then be available and open for a little bit of it to not go that way. Right? So we can plan and we can prep and I can be the container holder for the experience, but we also have to be a little bit flexible because there might be some big emotional, process that needs to
Yes.
happen. Like there might be something you're looking at, some memorabilia piece and then all of a sudden you're having an experience that you weren't expecting to have. So I think holding yourself accountable to do what you know you're capable of doing is a big one too. So, like, if you know you're the kind of person that I don't have the bandwidth to sit here and declutter for, 8 hours. So maybe we're going to declutter for 2 hours or an hour, and then I'm going to go take a walk around the block and I'm going to, like discharge some energy in a different way. I think just being very sensitive to like client capacity and understanding where they are on the threshold of how much they can work through
Yeah.
in any given session. And also having those real conversations about like what is possible? Like what do you want? What are your goals? What are your dreams? Are you, interested in it looking like this? Like I have some clients, they're never going to file fold their t-shirts and have things look all pretty. Like this is not who they are and I'm okay with that. Like, know your capacity, right? Like, if you don't
And
have 4 hours to sit there and fold your laundry and make it look like Pinterest, like, let's not do that. Let's
sure.
not let's not even go there, you know? If you're not gonna, like, meal prep and make a whole plan and you're more of a person who's like, "I just am gonna get, a meal delivery or whatever," great. So I think being realistic, being flexible, yeah, knowing your thresholds, knowing like where your edges are, and maybe you don't know your edges yet. Maybe you need someone like me to kind of like go there and push you there. And then you're like, okay, that didn't work. I was exhausted. It didn't feel good. And then
Mm,
we reorient to what feels good. But first and foremost is like knowing where you want to go and then being very realistic about what you can and cannot do with any given session. Because if you're not really ready for it, it's going to be an uphill battle, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me in midlife, it just what resonates is I call it chipping away. So where I used to say, "Oh, I'm going to spend 4 hours or half a day," I don't know, midlife, she's got a voice over here that tells me like, "Look, this is what really looks good. I know you used to 20s, 30s, and do this, but this is what we're doing." And she says, just chip away little at a time. It's the same with my to-do list. It's full. And I say, if I get 2 things done on this list today, and then I just do the same thing tomorrow, 2 things on the list, because that's what's realistic instead of setting myself up for or knowing my limitations or boundaries, right? Setting myself up for failure to go, "I can't believe you didn't get everything done," or "I can't," I don't need any more, hard on myself because midlife and menopause, like, those are enough mountains to climb, and, energy.
Exactly.
Energy definitely. it's like I go into like a preservation mode. Like I know I'm going to
Mhm.
have this much energy to expend in my day, and I don't want to waste it all and be like my cell phone low battery. Um,
Exactly. And then what did that yeah, and then it's like the vicious cycle begins, right? And then you wake up the next day and you're like, I didn't get all these other things done yesterday. And so now I'm already starting the day in a deficit, which doesn't set anyone up for feeling good or
I don't
having a
feel
great
good.
day. Yeah. So that's how I approach it for my midlife clients is like, okay,
Yeah.
let's be real. And
Yep.
sometimes I only do, I do half days with some people now because that's just where we're at. Or if we're doing something that's really intense. Like, a lot of my midlife clients are losing their parents now.
Mm,
So we're going through a lot of, the parents' homes and the parents' belongings and the photos and, all the things that come with such deep, rich history, but also so much grief. And so
mm,
you can't hold that aperture open for as
yeah.
long as one would maybe like to,
Right.
get it
One
done.
and done.
But it's not that way at all. And I think being very sensitive to capacity is so important at this stage of life.
And I think that's why it's so beautiful that your what you do does tie with healing because of course, just even when I think about a physical ailment or wound, I want or you have surgery and you're like, okay, I want to be well and walking in 2 weeks instead of the 6 or the 8 that it takes. What identity do you find any type of identity that is most often hiding inside the clutter of midlife women? Meaning, what may they have a struggle with grieving or letting go of when they're going through the process?
I mean, I think there is oftentimes, it's interesting because I feel like I have two types of, there's like kind of two different, I don't want to call them personalities, but there's two different, people there, two different women that are the ones that are definitely grieving, like going through clothes that don't fit anymore because our bodies have changed. Our bodies are different, letting go of the clothes that we once, wore every day that is just not our reality anymore. So there often is, I think, some shame and disappointment and like a lack of acceptance around the change, or the
Mhm.
aging process. And then there's the other side of that, which is like freedom. I don't care. This is who I am. I know myself. Like, here are my boundaries. Here, it's like a very, I don't know, it's like the identity of, like, letting go of that 20-something-year-old life and that body and those memories and all of those things, and then there's the other
Mm,
woman who, like, really owns and steps into her power, right? It's
yeah,
like, I know who I am now. I know what I look good in and what makes me feel good when I wake up in the morning, and I don't have to, like, struggle to fit into something that once and when I say fit into, it's like fit into emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's
right.
all three of those things, not
Yeah,
just the size on the jeans or whatever it is. But the more I think we just own and get really comfortable with like this is who I am, like that's where the special magic sauce is, right? Of stepping into this part of our lives where we really just get to be exactly who we want to be and
yes.
take care of ourselves in such a different way.
I love that. I think that is, I know when I do my own personal coaching, my interest is around the identity of a woman owning her power. So it is interesting just how you kind of talk about the two different types and just on both sides, either kind of coming to a place in the middle, not to totally dismiss who you once were,
Yeah.
and
We don't
just
need to
only,
abandon her, like, she served a purpose, right? I mean, she taught us so much. She taught us so much about
yeah,
what we needed and where we were lacking and how we needed to shift things, and then taking all of that experience from our younger selves, right? Who got to experiment and figure things out, to
yeah.
then stepping into that fullness.
Yeah, what keeps resonating for me in midlife and in my 50s is I feel like there's this mirror of having energy and or maybe I feel really connected to my 20 something self. I think that's the freedom element, but then with the wisdom aspect. And I really like that relationship because, it is challenging sometimes to connect with certain stages of one's life, especially if there is areas that are still in process of healing. So to have a happy connected in a happy way, in a way that I'm like, oh, I like this energy aspect. It reminds me of the energy I had in my 20s, yet I can't go for 8 hours or I can't, and that's the wisdom the wisdom part. Because for me, I did a cleaning of my closet, just to chip away again, and I realized what was difficult for me to give the clothes away is there was the identity. It's almost more than photos. I was like, "Oh my goodness, wow, I remember where I was and who I was," and I liked that memory, and I didn't wanna give the clothes away. And
Mhm.
so, but then one thing I say is my future self will thank me, meaning just that allows me to bring love to the moment. I love your use of word presence because that is resonating for me for 2026. And to really be grateful, but then think, how can I give that energy to something or someone else that's going to benefit? Because one thing, like the freedom aspect you shared, I definitely also don't want so much responsibility in midlife
Mhm.
for things.
Right.
I
Yeah,
want to give that
exactly.
away.
I I am with you. Yeah. I mean, what else can I do to not take on more, right?
To- yes,
I have
yes. And
enough.
when you are helping women, how do you assist them in those that may feel a good amount of shame
Mm.
around the clutter aspect when they may be really competent in other areas? I don't know if you every time bring breath work in or just what things or just hold space for them, but any woman that's feeling shame or guilt around their clutter, how do you help them?
I mean, there generally is, a series of questions that I will ask them in the moment. I do my best to sort of, titrate between, like I said, kind of like pushing the edges and then like pulling back to allow them to have their own experience or come to their the answers within themselves, similar to a therapist, right? I mean, I'm not gonna like give you all the like I'm not gonna say, oh no, you need to get rid of this black sweater because it's causing you so much pain. You know, it's really supporting them in a way where they can come to the realization themselves. And so much of what you just shared is I do constantly reassure and remind them that, if there's stuff sitting in your house that's not being given a job, it's not being used, it's just sitting there. This is where, this is like the energy and the healing aspects of things like the quantum physics, if you will, of clutter clearing. Energy that's just everything is made up of energy, every single thing in your home. So if it's just sitting there in a closet, in a cabinet, in a cupboard, in a drawer, whatever, and it's not being used, it's dead energy.
Mm,
It's not, it doesn't have a purpose. So why would we surround ourselves with things that are just dead weight? I mean, it's literally dead weight. And then and in that example as well is like we're not giving anything breathing room. Like when things are very dense and tight and there's so much in a space, there's no breathing room. There's no place for new things to come in and land. Like how could you have a different experience or I don't know, even have space for a better blouse or a better sweater if there's no place for it to live when it comes into your house? And how
yeah.
much better would you feel if, like you said, you gave away things to people that have nothing and saw your things going to people and places and spaces that so desperately, I mean, especially in Los Angeles, we have so many people that lost everything.
Mhm.
We have so many fire survivors and different communities that desperately need what you aren't using. So to kind of like release the shame and let go of the shame, it's like, let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's flip it. If you haven't used it or touched it in over a year, which is kind of the cardinal rule, so to speak, are you really seeing yourself using it or doing it or loving it a year from now?
Right.
And if you aren't, like, in what ways is that holding you back? In what ways is that then even like magnifying your shame? Because you're looking at this thing every day. It's kind of like the skinny jeans theory, right? You're holding on to these jeans in the hopes that someday you might get back into them. But then in the back of your mind, it's right where we started in the beginning of this conversation, right? It's like in that loop in the back of your mind, like, oh, well, I have that bin of clothes and I think I can still get into those jeans. But really, will you? And if you're emphasizing this, like, I hope that someday I'll get back into them, that's also reinforcing the whole shame, and it's reinforcing the fact that, you know, it's like a stressor. It's like an
Yeah.
unconscious stressor, which then is raising our cortisol levels more, which we're already there in midlife.
Right.
We're
We're
already trying to
exact
regulate our cortisol every day and keep ourselves calm. And if you could just let go of those things and trust that in the future, if I need it, could I borrow
right.
it? Could I rent it? Could I, maybe have some like divine timing where the perfect thing came into my life when I needed it? But
Right.
having all of this stuff in our homes honestly creates so much more stress. The
Yeah.
things that are not being used create so much more stress and visual stimulation. I mean, I know there's been a lot of studies done, and I've spoken about this on other podcasts, is that when we take in a lot of visual information and a lot of visual clutter, it
Mm,
shuts down our other senses. So our other senses are in like overload, trying to work harder because we're overloading ourselves visually every time we're walking
mhm.
into our house or seeing the messy desk or the pile of clothes on the chair or whatever it is. Um,
And I was
so,
even thinking about social media because I did a little
oh,
detox digital when you were talking about, almost, yeah, all the images and physically in your home. So
yeah.
both.
I mean, the social media thing, I mean, that speaks volumes. I mean, no one sees the birth of a baby, a death of someone, some other horrific thing that's happening in the world, and a decluttering and a restocking video and a da, 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 da. It's just like it's so much coming in. And so I think when we start to really look at what our bodies need, what our nervous system needs to feel good, we all know that taking a break from social media makes
Right.
us feel better.
Yeah.
And similarly, we all know that when our refrigerator isn't filled with a bunch of food that's going rotten or that we haven't, sauces from 2016 or whatever it is, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Not
Um,
me. I do not.
Not you, but I mean, you've seen the videos, you've seen
Seen
the
those
like,
people. I've seen them. First of all,
no shaming. It's
I just
just not being used.
not being used. That's it. Simple. It's nothing, no shame, just not being used. I'm just sitting here going, "Oh, I'm so guilty. I have a pair of those jeans. Maybe I have a couple that I'm thinking." But, I loved what you shared about again being present and also allowing myself to love who I am in the moment as this midlife woman, even if it relates to, yes, body weight has shifted in areas I never thought possible, making me wear new sizes, different sizes. But if we've gotten here in midlife, I think we know, and especially if a woman has gone through being a mother, the way that our bodies change and evolve, it definitely ebbs and flows, but I love the thought of giving those away to make space, and then again, whenever that opportunity, however that opportunity comes up to wear a pair of skinny jeans, borrow, buy,
Mhm,
rent. But like that's not happening right now. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how decluttering can become an act of maybe self trust more than also, I know you're helping women probably with discipline around their environments, but how does that build their self trust also?
I mean, I think also to wrap this one into this question, I think is also very important is like we clutter starts the minute you make a decision to buy a thing. It's not so much about it is what is in our houses, but also it's the decision, it's your shopping power. It's the decision that's made at the register, in the shopping cart online. That's where the real like power lies. And I would encourage people to start building that muscle of having, the permission to pause before making the purchase, because that decision point of, clicking yes to the cart and letting the credit card run through and whatever, I think we've become so accustomed to this like fast transaction. It's like, oh, it could be at my doorstep tonight. I mean, I could order it in the morning and it might be here by 8 p.m.
How
and we can,
exciting.
right. It's like, it's very exciting. And I could have, whatever I want. It's like I don't know. I mean, as midlife women, like I used to have to go to the store and wait for the thing to come out and be available.
And certain hours only, not
Right.
all night.
Right. I couldn't just go on my computer or my phone and buy something whenever I wanted to. I could only go to the mall when the mall was open. So really starting to build that muscle of confidence and security within ourselves, of like trusting ourselves, starts at the purchase point, right? Like, let's
Good.
evaluate what we have in our closet first. Let's go look in the pantry or look in the refrigerator before I go to the grocery store, instead of coming back home and realizing I have 20 bags of almonds. Because this is like the I did it. I did it with chicken broth. I'm so guilty.
Oh,
I
I'm
was
so guilty. I'm
I
like, I
was
have
so
that already? What? That's in there?
so
My
guilty.
gosh.
I have a broth like scarcity mindset. I don't know why. I do use it.
Mine was Q-tips. I'm like, oh, I already have like a big box. Another one. I have another box now.
And there is also legitimately, I think, growing up with an alcoholic parent, there is an aspect for me around control and like control in my environment of, if I know that I have enough in my house, then I feel good. Like knowing that I have food prepped, knowing that I have stuff in my pantry, knowing that I have, the right amount of socks to get through the week or whatever it is. So there's definitely like a deeper layer of evaluating what was modeled for us. Like you had asked in the beginning, like what was modeled for you in your household around clutter and consumption, and what does that look like? And I know for me, having a tidy home and having stuff in my refrigerator is definitely an element of control that makes me feel safe. Again, it like all comes back to my nervous system regulation and like, what do I need to feel safe and grounded in my space? So I think having the confidence at the purchase point is where we need to get
That's
really
good.
honest with ourselves before it even comes into your home.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. I love the way that you're just keep saying that, even thinking about, it's kind of like our bodies and our minds, also our homes, like what we let in energetically or physically, just all of it, to have that pause as you shared and just consciously think through it and what is it going to add, take away, how is it going to affect
Mhm.
me, have a little pause there. What can listeners do, who may now be thinking about any decluttering journey, and just to get started, what are some important, maybe first steps?
I think first, like you said earlier, I mean, I think the chipping away is really important, especially at this stage in life when we can get easily overwhelmed. Things can feel a lot more challenging than they once were, especially if you have so many responsibilities. You might not be able to take an entire Saturday and go clean out your garage anymore because you probably have, I don't know, if you have a kids, they got to take them to their activities or, whatever the case might be in terms of your responsibilities. I think getting really clear with yourself of like what's not working first. So, like, identify the landscape in which you are feeling stuck, overwhelmed. Like, what is it? You can't put away your laundry after you do it because your closets and drawers are already full. So, if that's the thing, just focus on one thing at a time. I think that we get very excited about the idea of, decluttering our entire house and our life, and we're just going to do it all on a Saturday. And that's really
It's
so
not happening.
unrealistic,
It's not happening.
especially as Americans who
I have
consume,
a
like,
lot of stuff.
yeah, we have a lot of stuff. We overconsume. We have too many things. Get very, very clear on, make a list. Like, what's not working in my house anymore? Where do I feel too full? Where is it overwhelming for me to just get through sunrise to sunset? Like, go through your day and think about, Okay, when I wake up in the morning, I maybe don't feel rested, like I didn't sleep well. Okay, well, maybe I have too much clutter in my bedroom, so it's making me not relax. Or, I mean, get very clear on maybe like just do like a run of show, if you will, from start, like the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and make a list of all the spaces where you feel like it's just too much or it's too hard. Because really, an organized home should be very easy to find what you need and put it away. I mean,
Right.
at the
I
crux of
love
it,
that.
like that's it. We don't need to like make some big flowery experience about what it is.
Right.
It's just that. Like,
Yeah.
where's my stuff? Can I locate it? And when I'm done with it, can I easily put it away? That's it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when you talk about the bedroom and too much stuff, so instead, prior, I probably would have said, let's clear out the entire bedroom. But right now, I am doing sheets and bedding, and just if I don't have the guests coming over to use this, then I could give it away to someone in need. And I love the tie to community because I believe as our nature as women are to be givers, to want to help others. And I think sometimes that helps my brain and saying, oh, look how I'm being of service. Look how I'm contributing to my community and taking it off of me. I also do something where I'll take stuff out, and if I don't finish it, I will put it back or put it in boxes just so
Mhm.
that I can have the peace throughout my week because I was able to get through a certain part, but then, okay, I'm going to come back to it, but I don't want to necessarily look at it and be in it all week and feel that. And as far as one of the bravest things that a midlife woman could possibly release at this stage, what do you think that is or what resonates with you?
Oh, I mean, I don't know, it would be like a physical clutter thing, if I'm being
It doesn't
honest.
have to be. Yeah. I wasn't yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think what tends to happen, and there has been a reoccurring theme, at least in my circle of women, is just it's the relationships. It's the people that bring you down. It's the people that aren't supporting you. It's the people, because they say what we're the accumulation of the 5 people that we're around the most. And I think really getting honest with yourself around, friendships, relationships, any kind of like business dealings or uncleared or unresolved relationships, whether that's like a relationship even to money and like how you're spending your money, or if you owe people money, um, having a lot of clarity about your relationships to things and to people, because people affect us so much, I think, in midlife. Like
People can
where
bring you
we're
down.
yeah, it can bring you down. And as we are in like all of these physical changes in our body and things feel more challenging a lot of times mentally and emotionally, it's so important to have a community of people around you that understand and that can empathize with where you are. And if you don't have a good support system around you, it just feels 10 times more challenging to do anything, honestly. So I would get very clear with my core group of people, and
Yeah.
if there's any like lingering relationships that even though you have history, it doesn't mean that you need to stay friends with them or be with them forever and ever. I mean, I think as humans, we're meant to evolve and shift and change, and we grow and we're different. And it's okay to, have had those relationships for a season or a time or whatever this, the song.
My, hairstylist, had mentioned a friend detox, which was a
Mm,
term I had not heard before, but,
mhm,
I agree that even, some friends have become like families, because they are longtime friends, but doesn't necessarily mean they're in your immediate circle of support, and just highlighting that again, if you're chipping away. I have a friend that we kind of call each other when we are going through clutter because we both get
mm.
what that process is like and how it affects us. And um, so I love just having her as that one person of support to be gentle with ourselves. If declutter was a rite of passage for midlife women, which it seems that it is from speaking with you today in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form, what would it or what would you hope that it initiates a woman into at this stage in life? And it can again be personally for yourself or just what you're seeing in your clients.
Would hope that it would give them even more confidence. I mean, I feel like at this stage in life, we've learned so much about ourselves, right? Like from all the learnings in the 20s and the 30s and all the, I don't really believe so much in mistakes, but, all the things that we maybe wish we could have done better and taking all of that learning, right? Like we've learned so much. And something I learned or I heard rather over the weekend when I was away on retreat is like, we've done so much healing, right? Like we've done so much work on ourselves and there really is no more like seeking to get like we don't need to be keep like seeking this thing or like feel like we're crawling up the wall to like get
Yeah.
ourselves to a place. Like we are in the place, we have arrived. And my hope and my prayer for any woman in midlife who's decluttering is like just take that like with like reckless abandon, like take away all the stuff that is, holding you back energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like if you keep looking at this chipped coffee mug and you hate it and you've hated it forever, just get rid of it. I would really hope that it serves as like a real deep initiation into the life that you are going toward and heading into, as opposed to like staying stuck in a place that doesn't serve you anymore. You are a constantly evolving creature. And
Yeah.
so let yourself have that. Like let yourself step into that place of confidence and security and know that like whatever you need as an object or a physical item, you most likely already have it.
Yeah.
And letting go of the things that you're not using, I mean, how many sets of hot rollers have I gotten rid of over the years? It's like, you're not using this. Like, we're not doing this
Well,
anymore. We are
and talk
using these wands that have the air in that. Like, it's a new world, you know?
new world, new me, new us for sure.
Yeah. But
That
I
is
would emphasize also, like, I do treat this as an initiation. I do treat this as ritual, as ceremony. Light the candles, put on the cool playlist that makes you feel good. Do the incense, do the space clearing with
dance around the stuff. Just
all the things, like make it fun and make it yours. Like make it your personal sacred ritual because the more you can treat life as that, the more exciting and like rich it becomes. And it's never really about the stuff. It's usually about the memories associated with the stuff. And no one can take those away from you. The
I
memories
love
are yours forever.
I love that live within us, and it's so amazing to be with you here today and
Mhm.
just share with our listeners how to find healing around their stuff mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you can find Lily at www.clutterhealing. Let me say that again, www.clutterhealing.com. And you'll find her upcoming events, her blog, Clutter Healing Conscious Consuming Guide, and more. And Lily, tell us if there's any upcoming events or things, or if you want to talk about your breath work. I know we didn't get into that, but just anything else you want to share with our listeners.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I did create a couple of really amazing guides that are up on my website 30 days and 30 ways to organize your house. It's a bunch of very, very simple, it's a really good jumping off point for people who I think feel often overwhelmed to even start the organizing or the clutter clearing process. So, I have that guide. I have a moving guide. I also have a conscious consuming guide that dives very deeply into this purchasing pause and, how we can prevent clutter from coming into our house. So if you're more of like a DIY type person who loves a guide and loves a hand holding in a digital format, there are those options on my site. And yeah, and in more of the healing realm specifically, my plan is to get back my virtual breathwork groups and some in-person breathwork groups. Breathwork for me has been an incredible helper, healer, just like I said, as like a spiritual housekeeping to really like tap into my emotions and let things come up and out that I've maybe not given space to. And I think that's so important for us to be able to just laugh and cry and breathe and not have responsibility for an hour.
Nice.
Um, and lastly, I've started to really get into the work of rebuilding my nervous system and rewiring my nervous system through a practice called Ishtara. And it is something I will be offering soon. I just got
Nice.
certified to teach this practice in November of last year. So it's something that's been incredibly impactful in my life. And I'm excited to share it with more women this year. So
Ooh, very
more on
exciting.
that later.
More to come. Please check Lily out at her website with all these beautiful, beautiful things. And I love that you have some, just again, digital guides for those that want to take some baby steps and even start their relationship with decluttering and knowing what more about that. And thank you so much for being here today. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, it was beautiful to have you. Thank you so much. And if this conversation stirred something in you, be sure to like, subscribe, or follow so you're notified of each new episode that drops every Monday. If this episode gave you new ways to responding to clutter, share it with a midlife woman who's navigating similar questions in her space. The clutter you're facing isn't proof of failure, it's proof of a full life of love, responsibility, care, and chapters that mattered. Midlife has a way of stripping away what no longer fits, not to punish us, but to free us, and occasionally to make us wonder why we still own three versions of the same black cardigan. And maybe this stage of life isn't asking you to overhaul everything or reinvent yourself before Tuesday. Maybe it's simply inviting you to notice what no longer feels like you, to honor what carried you once without insisting it carry you forward, to choose space, not because you're emptying your life, but because you're finally valuing your energy more than your storage. Maybe it's asking you to listen differently, to notice what doesn't feel a part of you now, to honor what you carried you once, but's not carrying you forward, and to choose space not because you're emptying your life, but because you are making room for what's next. So if you're standing in a room, literally or emotionally, wondering where to begin, start with this question: does this belong to who I am now? You just need to be honest and a little courage to maybe have a donation bag nearby. I'm Suzanne, your midlife wingwoman, and this is Menopause, and Miracles. Until our next conversation, bye for now.